Hey, Drew, guess what?
What?
We're in an advertisement.
Well, that is neat.
Anchor has asked us to help advertise the platform we use for this very podcast.
Using Anchor has made it really easy for us to distribute our podcast across almost every streaming service and has helped us grow to the point we're at now.
Yeah, thanks, Anchor. You're the best.
If you have any questions about using Anchor, please reach out to us. We'd love to share our personal experience with you and help you get started doing your own podcast.
All right, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Good Bottle Podcast. Join Chris and Drew, two self-proclaimed booze pundits with a lifetime of industry experience as they walk you through the alcohol business and how today's headlines affect the industry. Each week, the guys will be joined by a special guest that will help them break down these stories and offer their own expertise to the podcast. So, pour yourself a glass of your favorite drink and sit back. This is the Good Bottle Podcast.
What is up? Welcome, everybody, to the Good Bottle Podcast. My name is Chris Sinclair. I am your host this evening, and I am joined by my fellow co-host, Mr. Drew Garrison. Drusif, homie, friend, guy I talk a lot of shit to. The fuck's up, man? How are you doing this week?
It's so funny that you would say Drusif because this was the one time I didn't put Drusif as my name on like the chat feature. And the only reason I didn't do it is because our guest tonight, we are at the very beginning of our relationship. And I was like, I don't want her to think like weird of me. Like, what's this whole thing about? So, I didn't want to go there just yet. And then of course, you come right out with it. I'm like, oh, weird. I put it out into the universe. There was more, it's more of that visualizing that I've been talking about. As soon as I put it in the universe, it happens. So, but I'm doing good, man. I got an exercise bike this past weekend and I've used it as many days as I've had it. So I'm pretty proud of myself.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah. We'll see if that momentum continues, but I got added into a Facebook group that is supposed to guilt me into continuing to do it. And if I don't, I owe people whiskey. And considering that I have a pretty ridiculous whiskey collection, I do not want to give any of that up. So it's good. I'm excited about it, and hopefully I'll be Lance Armstrong before anybody realizes what's happening. So that's what I'm pushing for. How are you? What's going on?
Oh man, I'm doing great, man. I've had a crazy last couple weeks. Like we all know, last week I was recording from Monterey. That was fantastic. Had a blast. It's the first time I've ever recorded from a hotel lobby, so that was interesting. And then this week, I just got back yesterday from Tahoe. A longtime friend of mine, an old roommate, he had a bachelor party, and by bachelor party I mean it was like me and both of my old roommates. So it was just three of us in a cabin up in Tahoe, just talking shit to each other, smoking cigars, pretending to cook, drinking a lot, and laughing at old Richard Pryor movies. It was fucking fantastic. We had a blast. We drank a lot of wine, drank a lot of whiskey, may or may not have done some forbidden substances. It was great. It was lovely.
Oh my God. You're a father, sir. How dare you?
That's why I didn't say what it was, because I don't want my daughter to grow up and be like, I see you. Guess what I'm doing now?
She'll find out eventually.
I'll probably tell her by the time she's 2. It's fine.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's getting close. Well, let's not delay this any further. Oh, actually, we have to delay it just 1 second. Last week, some of our audio got messed up with our 4th recording. So if people are wondering why at times our guest Caitlin was talking completely out of sequence, it's because that's what happened when we uploaded it to Anchor. So it's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. And hopefully we'll be able to fix up that audio in the future and get that to work. But tonight's guest, we're keeping it in that same vein as the wine market. And this is someone that we're very, very excited to have. In fact, Chris reached out to me and he was like, Drew, we need to have her on. And I was like, yes, absolutely. And I was also maybe drinking some wine that night. So I immediately asked her and she said yes. She is a natural wine writer. She is a content creator and she is the founder of Nod Wines. Our guest tonight, which we are so excited about, Nadia Pugh. Thank you so much for joining us. And who the hell are you? What are you drinking?
Cool. What is up? Thank you so much for having me on. This is so fun. I feel like the world of wine, the world of spirits, and social media is a crazy world and brings us all together. I just feel like we can. I wish we could fill up a bar with like all of us and like all hang out like post COVID. My name is Nadia Pugh, like you said, founder of Nod Wines. Nod Wines, like NAD. A lot of people say NAD, but it's Nod. It's short for Nadia. I'm from Sacramento. I now live in the Bay Area. I live in Oakland, and I love natural wine. I mean, that's really where this started. It's always funny when I'm asked to introduce myself. It's like, oh, okay, who are you? I'm like, who am I? So it's fun to just like, it's like, oh, this is cool in this world. It's not like, the corporate job where you have a title. It's like, oh no, I can make up any title that I want. Like, so today I am a creator, a wine lover. I like to say journalist or pseudo journalist because I love telling stories. And I think that's what I really fell in love with when it came to natural wine is the stories, the people, the community behind these great bottles of wine that we have. By day, I do something completely different. But I guess what's day and night anymore? I feel like after 2020, everything's
Time has no
just
meaning.
intertwined. Yes, it does not. Time, sun's up, maybe it's down. But yeah, I you can find me on Instagram. I'm there all the time. That's actually how, Drew reached out to me at Nod Wines. And I just pump out fun content every day. I think my goal is really to make wine fun, accessible. It's not just for old white guys that are sitting up in Napa. There is just, a whole world of wine to be discovered. And I really feel like there's something for everyone. Every mood, not just like meal pairings. So today I'm drinking a red wine. It's called Stay in Bed Red because that was my Monday mood. I just didn't feel like getting up. So I just thought it was very fitting. This wine is by Jay Bricks. It's a couple down in Escondido, down in Southern California. They make some really cool natural wines. We can get into like what natural wine exactly is and what that all is a little bit later. But this is a really cool 2020 blend. And it's a red, no smoke taint. Hey.
Nice.
It's mainly Merlot, Pinot Meunier, and a little bit of Syrah. So
I love Pinot Meunier. I like
it.
It's fantastic, and especially here in California, like we don't find it that often, but occasionally, like when it's thrown into a blend, it really screams. It really pops out. That's fun. It's good stuff.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I actually, if we can ever meet up in person, I have a bottle of Pinot Meunier, a still Pinot Meunier, made in California by Two Shepherds Wine. And they're up in Sonoma. And when I first tasted it, I was like, oh, wait, I've never had this still. And it's amazing. It has the fun acidity. It has the juicy red. It has like a little bit of brambly characteristics. There's just, I don't know, it's a mix of everything. And it's one of my favorite varietals.
So one of the things that we were talking about before was before we started recording was like we love people in your position who have quote unquote real jobs, because a lot of people tell us that we don't have real jobs. Not as much anymore because I'm on the distributor side. Chris has a bottle shop, but definitely there's a huge portion of this industry where we get told a lot like, when are you going to get a real job? When are you going to get a real job? And you had that, and I believe just by kind of reading through some of the website and the blog is that in February you just about hit a year of your digital creation space and everything kind of in with that. And I know one of the other things that we were talking about before was that, you had some more free time. So you got into it and stuff like that and really started to put this information out. So I always tell people the hardest thing that happens with social media is first you have to convince yourself that what you have to say is important, right? And so you're coming from the outside, like you have this other career that you've done for a while, but you've always had this love for wine and how it can bring people together. What ended up, being the catalyst that you were kind of like, I need to have a bigger voice in this industry?
Yeah, that's a funny story because I think it was like August 2019 where I told my best friend, it was my birthday's in August, and I told my best friend, we went wine tasting. I told her, hey, like, I was like, I think I want to create this Instagram and like share about all the natural wine that I'm learning about and all that stuff. She's like, you should do it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then I just totally put it on the back burner. I thought no one would really care. I was like, I don't like, who is she coming into the wine industry and talking about wine? She has no background. A lot of the times at tasting rooms, I'm the only person that looks like me in those tasting rooms. And I just like, I don't know. I just felt like, it's silly. And then I took my dad wine tasting for his birthday, which was in January of 2020. And he was like, he was just like, should we expect a career change from you or something? Like, you really like this stuff. You really love this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I don't know what I'm going to name my Instagram. That's the handle, all the name and the branding. And my same best friend was like, hey, you're Nod and you like to drink wine. So Nod Wines. And that's how it came to be. And really it was like, hey, I realized people are asking me questions about the wine that I drink, and I'm very good at convincing people, selling, I guess you could say, and talking, that I was like, you know what? Like, this will help me journal the wines that I'm drinking. It'll help just reinforce my learning, putting definitions out there. And then, who knows, maybe I'll connect with some people. And yeah, a year later, it's like, I think I'm just about under 5,000 followers, and they're all genuine connections that I've made. And it's like, oh, people do care. And when I meet people in public, they're like, oh my God, you're Nadia. I love your content. And I'm like, wow, that's so
That's awesome.
cool.
That's so cool. Okay. So 2 questions for you then.
Okay.
Does anybody in your family call you a wine snob now?
No, actually, they don't. They
God,
don't.
what a supportive environment. What's that like?
Yeah. Maybe I'm doing a good job with like, hey, these are chill wines. It's super. Yeah. I do get like, if I'm going to a friend's house and maybe they're like, oh, we'll cook dinner, have Nadia bring the wines. I don't want to pick the wines for Nadia. Like, I get that a lot, which I'm totally fine with. I'll bring the wine every time. Even if it's not dinner and I'm just coming over, I will always bring the wine. But yeah, and I think a lot of my family is just like, oh, this is wine that I've never had before. I'm learning something new. And then I start to ramble. So I don't know if they're really like, I don't know if they're just drinking the wine or if they're actually listening, but either way, I'm spreading the love.
That's awesome. Okay. So question number 2 is natty wine an acceptable term?
I don't, I used to use it more, and now that I'm like in it, I don't use it as much. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, sure. Why not?
I'm going to go with no. Once you mature in it, it's no longer kosher.
Yeah, I guess.
Is that right?
I'm more so like, yeah, no, I'm thinking
is that
about
like calling San Francisco Frisco?
You know what? I think that is. Yeah, because once I live here, it's like, oh, it's the city. Or SF.
Yeah.
But like Frisco, I feel like, when I didn't live here, I called it that. Yeah, that's interesting how that works.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I mean, I always feel like my eyes roll into the back of my head when someone calls it natty wine. So I just wanted to, see what that was really looking like from a professional standpoint.
What's funny about that is like it hits like a very a nostalgic part of my brain hearing the word natty, just because I in college I drank a lot of like Natty Light,
Natty Ice,
and Natty Ice.
Same.
Actually, a lot more Natty Ice than I did Light, to be fair. And so Natty Wine, just to go, oh yeah, it feels like home.
Yeah. No, I remember those days and all the different beer games. And I guess that's where my mind goes too. So then maybe it separates in my brain, almost like, no, it's not that. Please don't think that. This is different.
Right.
But,
I just make an association with almost kind of like a bro-like mentality, where when you hear that, you're just kind of like, all right, bro, settle down. Like, this is, I don't need to hear all these things. Chris, question for you. What are you drinking?
I am drinking an orange wine this evening. The Orangerie. That's my amazing French accent. From Union Sacre It is an orange wine of Gewürztraminer, 40 days on skin. It is fucking stunning. I love this wine. This is hands down one of my favorite wines of all time. This would probably be my desert island wine if I had a desert island wine. I don't, but this stuff is freaking fantastic. And it's being Gewürztraminer too. It's, most people know Gewürztraminer as being like that sweet German wine, dessert, tons of sugar on it, almost on the border of being an ice wine. You could take all that you those assumptions about Gewürztraminer and just throw it out the window with this wine. It has a lot of the same sort of textural structure and a little bit of the same flavor profile, but with the skins for 40 days, like it just strips so much of that and adds a ton more depth. Creates like this mid palate off bitter quality to it, but that's like washed out by like this juiciness. It's just freaking lovely. And it blows my mind every time I open a bottle. And I was really excited to find this in my wine collection tonight as I was like looking through it, like, okay, what am I going to drink? I don't know. And I moved a bottle out of the way and I was like, oh, yup. Like that.
40 days. That sounds so bomb. Yeah. So there must be, is it pretty tannic?
It's not incredibly tannic. It has a touch, but like it doesn't make the inside of my lips kind of like scream. It's not like a Napa cab, right? Where it's like your whole mouth just goes and then like opens back up from the tannins. It is acidic. It's quite acidic. Cause it makes me salivate quite a bit. Which I think I really enjoy in wines personally.
Same.
That being said, like there's a lot of like sweet wines and whatnot that I also like, like German Rieslings from the Mosel. But this stuff coming from Paso Robles, also the winemaker. I met him one time. He was supposed to come in for like 15 minutes, and I think we hung out for 3 hours. And we were just like shooting the shit. He was just like one of those guys that like you meet and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, we're homies. Like we didn't know each other, but now we're just homies. And we just had a blast. I think we crushed like 4 bottles of wine in that like 3 hours. That was supposed to be like 15 minutes. It was great. I've been meaning to get down there, but like I met him right before COVID. And it's still high on my list to take the whole Good Bottle team down to Paso for like a field trip. Just like visit Tin City and like go visit X down here. It'd be great.
Yeah. I haven't been to Paso yet. I passed through Paso on my way to Pismo a couple months ago. But yeah, it's one of the wine regions that I'm like, I just need to carve out some time and just dive in. I've connected with several wineries down there. So it's just, there's nothing like being there in person and really feeling that terroir and just being there. So I'd really like to do that this year.
Yeah, it's high on my list as well. Drew, what are you pouring down your gullet?
Well, I think I'm keeping it in the same vein, and I'm actually not drinking it right now, but I drank it the other day. But I wanted to feature it nonetheless, and it's the Hang 11 2020 Chardonnay from Hollow Wines, and it's funny because this was the producer of this, or the producers, Quinn and Allison Hobbs. I had met Quinn through Clubhouse of all things, and when we were talking about Georgian wine, and so I got brought in to talk about Georgian wine a little bit, and how that is a natural process. And then he had messaged me after, and he was just like, "Hey, I really like to try some of these," and so we're trying to find a way to connect. And then about 2 weeks ago, and of course I'll share a photo of this on our Instagram. I saw this bottle pop up, and so I don't know if you guys recognize who this is, but it's Bill Murray as the character Steve Zissou in The Life Aquatic, which is my favorite movie of all time. So I see this bottle
cool.
and I immediately lose my mind because I'm like, well, I need all of those. And then I click on this, I think it was like an Instagram ad or something like that. And it showed like Hollow Wines. I was like, I know what Hollow Wines is. So I go to their website instead of buying it through this third party, and got a few bottles of that. And then Quinn sent me a couple other ones as well, because he was like, oh no, I'm going to send you a few more things because your industry. And in fact, he sent me a mystery bottle that Chris will eventually sit down and we'll try to guess what the hell is in it. He won't tell me. He's just like, what's the fun in that? But this is super fun. So they're out of Lompoc, and they use wild yeast, 7-day skin contact, unrefined, unfiltered. It's also vegan, which, I always get a kick out of that when it comes to wines and spirits and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
A partial malolactic fermentation, and then it's just a really cool story. I mean, Quinn was kind of going, if you go to their website, he was kind of going down this path where he wasn't really healthy and stuff like that, and then just kind of did like a about face on his life and ended up really getting into natural wine. And then he ended up producing this really, really fun Chardonnay that at first I didn't know if I was going to like it, because I had not had a Chardonnay grape yet that with some skin contact on it. But also, in the ultimate litmus test, my wife, Caitlin, also loved it. So, there's always a little bit of a risk when I pour the natural stuff, because you just don't know what you're really going to get. And both of us really walked away. And it's the same. It's like we're getting into that point where it's getting really hot and it's not completely taken over yet, where the heat's outrageous. So you get a little body from it as well. And I just always get a kick out of seeing all kinds of sediment float around my wine bottle. And of course the packaging is just, I love it so much. I'm probably gonna have to buy more because I love that movie so much. And I don't even know how he got away with it, but he's using Bill Murray's face on his bottles. So good for him.
Oh, yeah, that wine sounds delicious.
I think for our listeners who might not know, the reason wine will put vegan on their labels, because one of the finding techniques that happens that gets used pretty often is using egg whites to remove sediment from wines. And so when you put vegan on there, that there's no egg white being used in that methodology. So it is a term that carries a little bit more weight than I think what Drew was referring to as sort of like the gluten-free phenomenon in spirits. That doesn't quite mean as much. Would that be accurate, Drew?
I'm willing to believe you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
that's kind of you.
I'd say I believe you too.
Nadia, I have a question for you. So what was it about specifically natural wines? Because I talked to a lot of sommelier friends who, among many reasons that they specifically turn up their nose at the concept of natural wines. So what was it specifically about natural wines that really captured your imagination and your enthusiasm?
It's funny that Drew's drinking Chardonnay or talked about a Chardonnay, because that's where it started. I was at a wine tasting. It was a natural wine tasting, and I was like, oh, this is delicious. I've never had pet nat, which is naturally sparkling wine, for those of you that don't know. I was like, oh, this is really cool learning about that process. I was able to ask a lot of questions from the winery. They were super welcoming. I didn't feel dumb asking questions. I was like, okay, these people are cool. And then I remember walking away, going to my next tasting, and I was like, oh, what grape was that, by the way? And they were like, Chardonnay. And I was like, what? Chardonnay can taste like that? And I think, being born and raised from California, you're used to the over oaked, the overripe, these huge bombs of Chardonnays, that it was just, never. Like I would, when you're at a wedding or like some reception, it's like there's the red and the white, and there's always that Chardonnay, and I'm like, oh, never. But having a Chardonnay that can be acidic and was grown in a cool climate temperature, there was just so much about it that I was like, whoa, like I was just so used to putting wine and certain varietals in certain boxes. And the fact that the fact that it was a pet nat, the fact that it was a Chardonnay, it just like blew all of what I knew, every box that I had, just blew them open. And then that's what really got me, that I was like, wow, a Merlot can, it be really juicy and less drying. There was just more to learn. I just feel like I'm the type of person that I get bored easily. So the fact that it was like, hey, these are out of the box wines, and then the people were more welcoming. So I felt like it was just not just the juice in the glass, but also the culture built around these wines, that I was like, hey, there's something different here, and not enough people know about it.
That's rad. That's really fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's so much truth to that as well, because I mean, even being a little bit further into all the different like natural wines, because we have like I said, all the Georgian wine that we've drank and stuff like that. Even when I saw this and saw Chardonnay, I was still taken back. I was like, wait a minute, like this, what am I about to drink here? And it just ended up being, this is my favorite Chardonnay of all time. Like it's not close. And I know that if let's say I gave this to my mother-in-law, she would not feel the same way. It's still, she wants that buttery stuff. And there's obviously room in the industry for all of it, but it is, this is why we're going to get along, because you have that natural curiosity as well, where you're kind of like, no, I need to know all the things about this. Like, you can't just drop these bombs on me and then walk away.
Right. Then I just like fell into the rabbit hole, and there was just every wine I had to like take pictures of, and then Google and find out more about the winemaking process for these specific wines. And I think that's really what opened up my mind to this winemaking style, this process, and the origins of it. And I'm like, is it new? Is it old? Is it a return to the past? There's just so much history there, and a lot of stories to be told.
Yeah, that's kind of the interesting thing about natural wine, right? Is just the interpretations of different people. It's like, for a lot of us, it is a pretty new phenomenon. And then, then you talk to some of these wine producers in other parts of the world, and they're just kind of like, you mean winemaking? Like just winemaking, right? Or like,
right.
Yeah, but you don't,
right.
You don't do anything. They're like, yeah, you're talking about winemaking. Why are you calling it natural? This doesn't make any sense to me. And you're just kind of like, oh, well. And then, I don't know when your moment was, but I remember at some point last year having this really, really horrible wine from California, and then being a little tuned up and asking that question on Facebook of like, why does this taste like this? Why is this so horrible? And then I got a private message kind of be like, because they add a ton of sugar to it, and this is going to make you feel horrible tomorrow. And coming from the spirits world, that's something that we're so used to seeing. Like, with rums and different things. It's like, you see all this manipulation constantly. I never thought that you would see that in wine. It just didn't seem like there was room in the process for it. But then, of course, you're like, oh, wait, no, this really does matter quite a bit. And to the point where, if you drink if I drink a highly manipulated wine at this point, like I can't even put it down. I'm like, this is disgusting. I got to get rid of this. I can't even do it anymore.
I mean, it happens so often. They even have a fancy name for it. It's dosage, man. Ooh, dosage.
That is true.
It sounds so sexy.
There is a lot of dosage. Okay, well, I think it's time for our opinions on facts that we've heard from reputable sources.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to keep it in the natural wine talk, which is oddly enough appropriate, right? And and this is a story about fine wine importer Ronnie Sanders of Vice Street Imports, which is one of the biggest wine importers, is going to be importing Pasalacao brands, Calicarius, and Nine is Enough from Italy, and these are all natural wines. And this is the biggest natural wine producer in Italy. His goal is to take natural wine out of this quote unquote niche market and bring it to the mainstream, saying that natural wine is for everyone. So this is going to be going into a lot more stores, potentially even grocery stores. Which, if you listen to last week's episode, we talked a lot about grocery store wines versus like bottle shop wines. But so Nadia, when you read this story and you just kind of saw some of the players that were involved with this, is there a level of excitement that you feel as like this really big enthusiast for natural wine, or is there kind of like the punk rock, don't tell everybody how cool it is? What are your thoughts on that?
I'd say my first initial thing was, yay, I'm happy. This is going to improve access. A lot of people ask me, hey, where can I find natural wine? Or they'll send me pictures. Hey, I got this at Safeway, or I got this at Ralph's. And I'm like, yeah, no, that can't be natural, But I think I like the fact that it would be to a broader market. Also, I think they can get lost in the pool of grocery store wines, because if you don't know what you're looking for, you're just kind of shopping by label or maybe by region, and it's just there on the shelf. But I like the fact that it's going to be accessible by more people. People may not have to seek out these boutique wine shops, which I totally love. And I love bottle shops and family-owned businesses, but also some people just aren't going out of their way to go find those places. So if there's a way that they can try natural wine, almost open up that door for them at their grocery store, then maybe that'll get those wheels turning, maybe let them fall down the rabbit hole, and then they'll start seeking out on, wine lists and bottle shops in their areas. I'm in the Bay. You guys are in Sac. There's a lot of different fun, wine shops. But when it comes to some people where the grocery store is their only stop or their only point of access to wine, I think it would be cool that they have access to that.
Yeah, no, I think there's a tremendous amount of truth to that. One of the stores that I actually mentioned last week that I picked up a wine from, I went back there and had to pick up a couple that my wife had tried that he hadn't had in yet. And I remember one of the things that we were talking about is, you walk into this wine shop, it's the only thing in there, and it's a bunch of stuff that you don't recognize, right? And I know one of the things that you've talked about so far is like destigmatizing wine and making it more approachable and stuff. And sometimes, as beautiful as some of these bottle shops might be, it's like the last thing anybody wants to feel is stupid when they're shopping for alcohol, right?
Yeah.
And so, and that's not to say that any of these store owners are making people feel stupid. In fact,
that's my specialty.
Well,
that's
that also
very good at that. That's
but I think for a lot of people that they're they want to be invited, they want people to shop with them and stuff like that. But if it can be an intimidating space because you're just kind of like, I don't recognize any of this. I don't know what questions to ask or anything like that. Whereas if you're at the grocery store, you're often led to your own devices, and how much reading you're willing to put in while you're going down the wine aisle is varies from person to person, right? So,
right.
So Chris, for you, what are some of your thoughts when you read this article? Is the punk rock band getting too big for you, or are you excited about this as well?
It's funny that you do say that. My initial reaction was actually being pretty excited. I was like, oh shit, these look dope. Like, not only just like the packaging, but then I was going in and reading about the winemaker and reading about her philosophy in terms of winemaking, and how she puts together she has several different brands that she puts out, and each of them is very, very intentionally driven in very specific, like, philosophical ways, which is, it's kind of rad, not just like, well, this is going to go to the grocery store and this is going to go here. But some of them are masculine and some of them are feminine and some of them are very like thought driven. And to create these wines that like produce that experience that perhaps she's thinking of as she's making the wine. That intention always makes me like want to at very least like dive in and go like, yeah, let's try this. Let's see if I get inquisitive when I drink this. Let's see if I feel, mathematical or something, like I always enjoy winemakers that have sort of a wider scope other than like, we've got more grapes, let's make more wine. Right.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, as someone who has experienced going through cocktail culture and watching cocktail culture go from being like this hyper snobby thing to being a very like cultish thing to now being completely mainstream. And the problem with cocktail culture now is that we won. We won the battle. We got all these people to drink these really cool things, and now it's just sort of so mainstream that people don't even care anymore. And that's always the fear with like taking something that's kind of cool, that's a subculture that's pretty dope, and then making it go mainstream. It's like, well, then maybe it loses a little bit of that like glamour that just made it so special.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I'm always going to be of the mindset that I want all these people to be successful. I don't want to like preserve poverty for tradition or, stuff like that, where it's just like, no, like these people, this is a business. We want them to do well and things like that. And this is the biggest natural wine producer in Italy. So they're doing well so far. But one of the things that also stood out to me in this article was they did a little summary of both the winemaker and the importer. And one of the things that I've started to notice when it comes to natural wine production, and I'm sure, Nadia, you can talk about this further, is that yes, we're talking about low intervention, right? We're letting the grape, or these producers are letting the grape like be the main star, but it goes so much further than that. And one of the things that she's very conscious of in terms of the winemaker is that she's also very concerned about everybody who works for her and wants to be very transparent about all of her sustainable practices and stuff, to the point where she invites, she has a labor union rep on site at all times, and she welcomes that. And even with the wine that I'm drinking tonight, with there's a big emphasis on the sustainability and the labor practices and things like that. And it's kind of cool to know that it's not just like this one aspect of it that makes it like everything is kind of being considered in it. It's not just the wine process, but it's the people who are involved in taking care of those people and making sure that not only is this wine sustainable, but their lifestyles are sustainable and everybody's benefiting from it. So I don't know if that's something that's ever stuck out to you, Nadia, about natural wine, but I feel like that's a theme that you just kind of see like over and over again. Yeah. It's not just about the wine. It's everything that goes into it.
Yes, of course. I mean, that's part of my draw to natural wine too. They're not just, taking care of, these producers are not just taking care of the land, taking care of the earth, but in other ways too. So like, yes, letting the grapes do its thing, but also finding sustainable methods for, making sure the grapes are hand picked, not putting anything into the vineyard that, naturally wouldn't grow there. And then on the other end, taking care of their employees, finding ways to be better in that regard. And I think that's something that when I sat down, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to create this blog. I want to promote. I had to really think about what is it about natural wine besides like drinking it in the community around wine and all that, because you can find that in anywhere. But really it was this lifestyle that it promotes in all different facets, right? I feel like on, the consumer end, I'm like, I can still maintain my active lifestyle. It's not, I'm not these, whatever's in this bottle, all the additives or, intervention processes are not affecting like how I feel and how I'm able to be active still, wake up in the morning early and work and all these things. I'm not saying that they totally don't give you hangovers because you need to hydrate, but I just see like in terms of like that end, there's just so many kind of lifestyle pieces to it. And I'm on the advisory board for a nonprofit that is about social justice within natural wine. So really creating this code behind, this is how you treat people. Like anybody, especially the producer that I'm drinking today, they've signed this pledge And the pledge is saying, hey, we're not only taking care of the land and the earth and the grapes and the crop, but the people around us. So are the people that work for us getting health insurance? Are they getting paid a living wage, whether that be in the vineyard, on the retail side? There's just so many different facets of it, that kind of these building blocks that create the natural wine culture, that I really dig. I'm really into.
What's the name of that nonprofit?
The Vanguard.
Oh, that's
yes,
fun. That's a good one.
Yeah. We actually just had a wine fair this past weekend. And these were, usually it's a wine fair is women in natural wine. And it's a huge, tasting in person where everyone's tasting wine from different women producers from all over the globe. It's usually in San Francisco, but this year we went virtual. And so there were a lot of panels. And so I moderated a panel on BIPOC women experiences in natural wines. So it was everything from that to winemakers tasting with other winemakers, to Alice Fearing, which is, she's a wine writer. She hosted a panel, said, natural wine changed the world. Now what? So seeing all these international voices come together to stand for, okay, it's not just like, yeah, this wine is so damn good, but outside of that, like, how can we make our lives better and the people around us, nurture them and make the world a better place.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's just there's obviously a lot of upheaval that's happening across multiple industries, but I think one of the great things about the alcohol industry right now is that there has been a lot of bullshit for years and years and years, and it's just kind of like, nope, not anymore. People are being called out who should be called out, and changes are being made, and people are getting platforms now where it's a fun time, and there's still lots of work to do. It's by no means perfect or anything like that, but that's also, continuing to have every single one of these conversations get exposed to all this different stuff. I mean, one of my favorite wines is Baya's wine, which is out of Georgia, and it's made by this woman who's I think she's 25 now, but when she started, she was 22, 21, and was just trying to bring wine production back to her part of Georgia. And it's just like, it's really cool to see that. It's really cool to see like this really rapid growth and embracing of that. So we'll definitely have to keep our eye on the Vanguard, because not only is that a great name, but
it's a great name.
It's a really, really fun choice. So Nadia, I do have this question for you. And I love this one because I think it can be really, really helpful for a lot of our listeners. But so let's say you're at a restaurant and you're looking at a wine list, and it can be very intimidating. I know I've been in that position before, but do you have any tips that you've developed over the past year? Because if it's not completely blatant that this is a natural wine, I mean, what are some of the things that you're looking for when it comes to, or it can be in the store? Like if you do find yourself in a situation where like, oh my God, I can only go to Safeway. There are no other bottle stores, around here, bottle shops around here. Do you have any tips for our listeners? Kind of be like, hey, this is a good way to find a good wine that is maybe not full of all the junk.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple things. So it depends on where I'm shopping. So if I'm walking into new shop and I don't know what to choose, I usually flip the bottle over and see where it's from, or who's importing it, or who's bringing it in. And I usually, that's kind of a connection that I get from, drinking wine in places. So if I get one maybe at a restaurant or a wine bar and I'm like, oh, this is really good, this ended up being really good, I'll just take a picture of the back and then remember like, hey, I'm going to take this shopping with me. I'm also the very annoying person that will ask all the questions. So the som better know their shit, because I will ask all the questions. Because I mean, that's what they're there for. I think being educated about what we're putting into our bodies, whether it be, organic produce, you can look at wine the same way. I definitely look at wine as an agricultural product. I could probably consume as much of it as I do leafy green vegetables. So, I really look at it in terms of like, okay, I'm going to ask people. I feel like, when I was in college, there was no one cared about the organic produce at the grocery store. No one did. It was just like, oh, that was more expensive for no reason. And there was no education behind it. So actually back to kind of what we were talking about with the importers and having these natural wines just in the grocery stores. I think that's the part that I get a little bit sad about, because I think that education piece can be lost. Because I think that's what makes these wines special. And maybe it's just me being like a geek about it, that I'm just like so excited about the education, what makes them different, rather than just like another good wine. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of a bottle of wine that I actually sold to Chris at Good Bottle, and a couple went in there, bought it, did not enjoy it, and were like,
Okay.
I'm never drinking Georgian wine again. And I just wanted to be like, no, give me their number. I need to like tell them why this is cool, and then I'll give them other options. Please don't write off this entire country, because
Right.
for whatever reason, that taste profile didn't jive with them, and it was just kind of like, okay, well now we're never going to drink anything from this country again. And you're just kind of like, that was devastating to hear that. That was like this one wine, that because it does take that education and everything that you're about with the storytelling. It's such a huge part of wine, right? Is just knowing where it came from and everything that is behind it. Where it's just so like, it's like, cool. Anytime you know anything more about something, you're going to appreciate it that much more, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really great. Chris, is there a question that you think you should ask every somm if you find yourself in that situation? Is there like a standard question to kind of be like, okay, this person's full of it or not?
That's a big question. I assume that everyone, let's say, that's coming to my table to serve me is full of it. Even if they know what they're talking about. And I say that because 90% of my answers whenever I was serving tables were all bullshit answers. Like they were like canned answers, so it's like I have a Rolodex of answers that I'm used to that like would get a laugh or would get like people to just like order something real fast, right? I think it really depends on the restaurant that you're in. And so you have to really be able to like read the room. There's, here in Sacramento, we have like Ella Dining, right? The Ella Dining Room, or we have like Waterboy, like those servers do not run away. They are not, they have like 4 tables max. They are there to like cater to you and make sure that you are set, versus like if you ever came to the Red Rabbit when I was working there, like it was turn and burn, baby. Like we were just moving, So you asked me a question, I'm like, oh, that shit is dope. You need to get it. It's one of my favorites. Or just like, no, don't get that one. Get this one. And then someone would ask me why. I'd be like, because it's better. And they're like, oh, okay. And then I'd be like, great. And I go and I pour it for them, right? So it's like turn and burn. So I think you have to like read the room as to where you are. If you have, we talked last week a lot about the floor somm and how rare that is. That there just aren't that many floor somms anymore in restaurants. And sommeliers, if they aren't doing that managerial role, if they get to actually just be a sommelier, then they can sit there and they can talk to you and they can just spit knowledge at you. And so from that perspective, I would say any question with a follow-up question should produce at least some bullshit meter in your head. If someone's saying something and then you say, hey, can you expand on this topic? And if they can't, then you know that they're just sort of making it up as they go.
And then at that moment, you just get up and leave. And
No, then you either
dinner's
decide
ruined.
that you're going to drink it or not.
Just get a cocktail, no wine. Yeah.
Yeah. Shot of mezcal. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the way. That's the way to do it. Okay, so we just assaulted you with 48 minutes of mostly natural wine talk. So now we're going to bring it back to the conglomerates. And this next story is talking about the potential of the major mergers no longer being a thing. And what I'm talking about is we have some pretty big companies in the spirits world: Diageo, Brown-Forman, Jim Beam, Pernod Ricard. And there's been lots of mergers over the past couple of years. And one that's being floated around right now is the combination or the merger of Brown-Forman and Pernod Ricard. Brown-Forman, probably most well known for Jack Daniels. Pernod Ricard, maybe Bacardi, would we say? For them?
No, I'd say Absolute or
there you
vodka.
go. Yeah,
Pernod or Jameson.
There you go. So,
Okay.
So those are some of the major brands underneath both of them. And now this would be a very ambitious buy, and it would be somewhat difficult to pull off because they are still both family owned, both companies, even though they are publicly traded. And I was looking at some of the numbers here, and they of course have some different valuations at what they're at right now. But if Pernod was buying Brown-Forman, we're looking at a $37 billion purchase, right? So this is pretty ridiculous numbers. And then if you look at Brown-Forman buying Pernod is currently valued higher. This would be a $58 billion purchase if Brown-Forman was to do that. So some of the things that they talk about within it, of course, there's the risk of like a monopoly and things like that. If this purchase would even be allowed to go through, there's not a whole lot of cross-pollination between the two suppliers. So there are people who think this could happen, but I find this interesting because we've seen a lot of things consolidate over the past couple of years, right? Whether it's distributors buying smaller distributors and rounding out parts of their portfolio, or suppliers going out and buying lots of different brands. I mean, earlier this year we had MGP buying a bunch of their own brands, and I look at it and it's just kind of like, it's like, okay, that's really cool, but then a lot of smaller brands kind of get lost in that shuffle, right? And with all that being said, I mean, when you look at this from the outside looking in, Nadia, do you see these major, like another major merger as a good thing, because then maybe it forces people to go seek out some of the smaller stuff? Or I don't know. I just thought this was interesting, and like even just like the thought process of $1 billion transactions between major companies was something worth talking about. So I don't know. What were some of your thoughts as you read through this article?
Yeah, no, I mean, really, the numbers jumped out at me. I don't know that part of the industry very well. I'm not very familiar. So to like walk through and be like, dang, this is a lot of money. And these portfolios are really large too. Just kind of walking through what that would look like. It's interesting, right? Because I am a champion for, small businesses and small producers and all of that. So to look at the merger, it's like, oh, there's the two sides, right? Because like putting that together, it's like, dang, now they like monopolize and they own everything. And maybe some people will just be like, oh, that's easy. They're accessible. I know the names. I'm just going to go for it. But then there's folks like us or whatever that love the other side. I'm like, it'll push us the other way, right? We're going to dig deeper. We're going to look for the smaller brands. We're going to look for, ask questions at the bottle shop and here and there. So it's just very interesting because I definitely see two sides to it. Like we talked about accessibility earlier. I mean, there's no problem with accessibility there with these big names. So I don't know. I just wonder if does it make sense for either of these companies with all of it's complicated. There's a lot in there, but right now, like the interest rates are low and there's a world of possibilities, especially coming out of this pandemic.
Yeah. And I think that's very, I mean, like we had a big we had a big buyout just a month and a half ago in California where Southern Wine and Spirits bought Epic Wines, and Epic had this, no pun intended, really epic wine portfolio, and they had a bunch of other really cool spirits too. And what we've seen with that is that a lot of that wine went to Southern. But then there was a lot of brands who have been kind of just left holding the bag and they have nowhere to go. And it's putting people in a lot of hard positions. Some of them are actually self-distributing now. So it's, when you have these, like, at first you might be like, oh, this is really great. And then you find out that like, oh, you're not part of the merger. So you're out, you go fend for yourself, and you just, kind of, it's a bummer for anybody who's not at the top of that list. Chris, I thought you would get really excited about this because there's all kinds of projecting that goes on in this article. Also, all the figures that we saw were all in euro, so I had to convert those. So I made sure to put the time in and converted it from euros to US dollars, so that way we could really resonate with us. But what were some of your thoughts on as you read through this?
I mean, the general thesis of this article and the sort of conversation that's happening in there is that you don't see many more coming down the pipe, right? Is that because a lot of them have already merged, and therefore it's like, how many more can merge before monopoly gets put on them? But then on the other hand, they're not going to merge together, but there's so many small brands out there. And we see this with like Gallo, and we see it with AB Bev, right? Where they're buying up small breweries, they're buying up small wineries, and they're consolidating in that way. And that's not necessarily a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like we've talked before about Gallo investing in people of color, talking about women brands, new conversations, new producers that deserve to have like not just their story told, but like create a new story within the industry to make it more interesting, right? And so companies like Gallo, companies like AB Bev have that money that they can spend, and it doesn't necessarily matter if those companies turn a profit in the first like 2 years, 3 years, right? But they also have the resources that would help them turn a profit in the first 3 years as well. So it's an interesting concept, right? Like, are companies going to start merging? I mean, when I read just theoretically that Pernod Ricard and Brown-Forman were looking at it, like that was mind-boggling to me. I was like, oh my God, that's two behemoths like merging, to create a super group that just, who can compete with that? They have at that point in time, they would have every sector of the market completely covered. With Pernod Ricard's international reach, their distribution systems internationally, and what they're able to do across many continents, and then more importantly, actually in sort of the airports and like the non-governmental, less restricted areas. So like your duty-free shops and stuff like that. Like Pernod Ricard crushes in those, and Brown-Forman has a strong foothold in a lot of that as well. But I mean, the fact that these companies don't really have like competing brands, you have Jack Daniels and then you have Jameson, right? And so you have Tennessee whiskey and then you have an Irish whiskey. Like they're both giant names, right? Everybody knows them. And I guess if you know at least something about booze, you know that they're not similar whiskeys. But if you don't know a lot about booze and you just go out to the bar once every other week and you're sticking to like your 2 brand names, those are probably your 2 brand names that you're sticking to. Like if you don't got one, you probably got another, and I'll take either one of them. Right. In which case, I don't know, Brown Pernod. What do we call the super group? Pernod Brown. I don't know. You know, they would profit either way. What was interesting about that merger that we talked about before with Southern purchasing Epic was that the difference is, at least in the United States, we're talking about like a supplier versus a distributor. Suppliers are the companies themselves. They are the groups that own the companies. They are the people, the families that produce the things. Distributors in the United States, there has to be a 3-tier system, right? So there has to be a supplier to a distributor to a point of sale, whether it be a bar or whether it be a store. Now, sometimes you can self-distribute. That's a whole little gray area there as well. But distributor buying another distributor, the Epic merger or buyout, a lot of those companies that were part of Epic, that was that smaller distributor, didn't want to go to Southern, right? Because that's the giant. That is the largest distributor in the United States. And they're going from a tiny little distributor where they get, their handheld, they get special treatment, to a giant distributor where theoretically they get lost in the warehouse, and they can't pay the sales reps to be able to like go on Focus for a month. They can't offer bonuses and whatnot for selling cases of their booze. So, the whole sales game, when you're talking about mergers like this, becomes incredibly fascinating.
Yeah. And there's some more like, kind of mind bending numbers. Like, so Jack Daniels is doing, 17 million liters a year sold. And then like in terms of like Jameson has one of the best on-premise coverages, and if not the best, I think it's 95%, which means that 95% of bars in the US carry Jameson. Like that is insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And again, we've spent a majority of this podcast, talking about natural wines and these really, really small producers. And I have one producer that does like 500 liters a year, that's it. That's all they're producing. And so, but I think even the biggest one was that, these two companies coming together, the way it was talked about in this article is that, and then, if they come together, maybe it'll finally be someone who can challenge the supremacy of Diageo, which is just insane. So it's like, so you need the number 2 and the number 3 company, or potentially, I think maybe it's like, they're both top 5, because I think Jim Beam might be up there as well. But it's like, you need these 2 companies to come in just to close the gap on the number 1, company with Diageo. So I don't know. I just think this was a really fun article to read. And I think, whether or not it happens, which I still think that there's a lot of obstacles in the way for this to actually happen. And again, this is very speculative, but there's more than enough small brands out there for us, right? So we can continue to geek out with each other and be like, no, we're gonna stay small. we're gonna enjoy this stuff.
I think in the current environment, one of the things that we've seen in the last like 15 years is that the vacuum that was created by the absorption of smaller brands, specifically in spirits, and then also you've seen it in beer recently, is that when those small brands become big brands, that leaves a vacuum that needs to be filled, right? So another small brand, as long as there's not any roadblocks in terms of like laws or access to finances, small brands will continue to pop up. That doesn't always make them good. That doesn't always mean that they're bad. It just, there's going to be a vacuum there when small brands get absorbed in. And I think that I for one have always been a proponent and think that there's always room for honesty and quality, right? Like if something is honest and if something is made in with the focus of quality, there's always going to be a need for it. I don't see that happening. Now, I mean, there's nuances in there, right? Like if the producer is also like an egotistical asshole, then like probably not. Like doesn't matter how honest and how good the thing is. If people just don't like them, then fuck them, right? But yeah, I mean, you see that in restaurants all the time too. You know, like I think that, you know, you see restaurants opening, closing, like growing, getting huge. And as here in Sacramento specifically, the conversation since I've lived here has always been like an oversaturated restaurant market, you know. But I'm just convinced that there's always room for honest and quality,
which is why natural wine is so big right now.
Yeah, and I think that that's, you know, like it comes from, you know, like Nadia was saying, you know, that the new consumers, you know, the new age groups of people who came up giving a shit about like what they put in their bodies, you know, whether it be organic, whether it be, you know, vegan, people caring about their health and how they're consuming. I think natural wine is really a symptom of that. Like if we didn't have that with slow food and all that before, like natural wine wouldn't be able to like get off the ground and get running. But the fact that we have natural food co-ops and all this stuff like that, I think that all that training and culture building over decades has like led to this point where something like natural wines and orange wines become a thing, and they become something that's sought after. Definitely in my store, you know, over the last 6 months, people come in all the time asking for orange wines and asking for natty wines all the time.
Yeah, I think to that same sentiment that folks are, you know, if the past year has showed us anything, I think a lot of us are paying more attention, not just what's going in our bodies, but where our money's being spent. So they are looking to support, you know, these small producers, just knowing what small producers, small businesses, all of those things, seeing, you know, what the past year has done to all of us. I mean, I think a lot of us drank more than ever, but we also, you know, maybe some people are on limited budgets and really paying attention to, you know, their favorite neighborhood bagel shop closing, because that was for the first time being cognizant of that. And these are people's lives and stories and livelihoods, and maybe even like their dream. They're just putting it out there. So to support, you know, natural wine or bottle shops or mom and pop restaurants, mom and pop drugstores, whatever, that's also the conscious consumer kicking in as well.
Yeah, I think that's totally on point, because a lot of people, and not only just with limited budgets now, but I mean, if you think about how a lot of restaurants are right now and just being understaffed and whatnot, like, you know, that if you go out, you're going to be experiencing a lot of delays and things like that. And it's to be expected, because again, these places are operating with limited staff. So making those conscientious decisions to kind of be like, okay, well, I'm only going to do this once a week, because I can't sit at a restaurant every single night and have it be 45 minutes to an hour and a half before I get any food. It's like, no, I'll do it once a week and I'll support the people I really want to support. But all right, so we're really going off the rails there. But I just thought this was a really great article, and I think I'm good. I think I got out of my system what I wanted. So thank you guys.
Got your answers. Yeah.
You know who's dope? Them over there.
Okay, so now time for my favorite part of the show, and it is our dope follows. And this is where we are going to tell you either about dope Instagram accounts like Not Wines, or we're going to tell you about movies, books, maybe other podcasts, but don't go be pushing other podcasts on here. I'm just kidding. You can totally do that. So Nadia, who is your dope follow this week?
Okay, so I'm going to have to plug a magazine that I work with because I'm really excited about the issue that's coming out. So
Nice.
the Wine Zine, you can find them on Instagram or thewinezine.co. This is, I'm actually the assistant editor of this magazine, another relationship that built out of, the internet and making connections over the past year. I actually contribute to the magazine as well. So we just got issue 5 just came off the printer. It's being mailed out to pre-ordered folks. And my story actually made the cover. So
Oh
I'm
shit!
really
Wow.
excited. Yeah. I'll be posting about it on my Instagram soon. I pitched the story and the editor was like, do you want to write it? You seem like really involved and really invested. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll write it. The family that it's written about is in San Francisco. So I got to do everything in person, like masked and everything, but still interviewed in person. The pictures came out beautiful. And that actually leads to my next dope follow. The story is on the 280 Project, and that's spelt out. The 280 Project. It is a partnership, a guy and a gal and their family in San Francisco making wine out of Pinot Noir grapes grown in San Francisco at a community ran farm. So it's from at Alamany Farms. And yeah, so they're just kind of doing big things. They decided we're going to make wine and they're doing it. I mean, in their own apartment in San Francisco. And, how small these spaces are.
What's
That's
great
so
about
funny.
that is last week that was one of the dope follows as well from the girls that we had on. So that's
So-
amazing.
Oh, so cool.
So
First time ever.
if you haven't paid attention to this, then you clearly need to go ahead and go follow them.
Oh, that is so awesome.
Yeah, so it's game minimum now. I asked the girls last week this question, and I have to ask you this question.
Okay.
The terroir of San Francisco, what do you think it's going to contribute?
You know what? I have a lot of opinions about San Francisco. But because they're Pinot Noir grapes, I think that fog, what do they call the fog? I think his name's Carl. I think they've named him on Instagram now. The fog that in San Francisco, they've actually have an Instagram account for him. But I think the fog, the cool climate, the coastal breeze would, produce wines that I like. I like those kind of wines. Grown in that terroir. So that being, I'd love to see like a Pinot Noir out of there. I think it would be really cool to see what kind of Chardonnay could come out of that. We talked about Chardonnay earlier. So to come full circle, I wonder what kind of Chardonnay would grow in like a foggy, coastal, like, smog ridden city. But
There it is. Like we're waiting just for all. Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you bring up that one. Okay, so another question for you, because I can't get over like the rocket strapping that has happened with you in this wine world. Like you just are kind of like, I'm gonna do this, and then you kind of were like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it, and then Dad's like, nope, you're doing it. Like go have fun with this. But like you go from, it would be less than a year and a half, if less, or definitely less than 2. I'll say less than 2. Kind of being like, I think I'm going to start an Instagram account. It's like, to now you're an assistant editor for a wine magazine. And I know that you said you had a day job. You didn't reveal what it was, and we don't have to get into that. But it's like, but you're not like a daytime journalist either, So it's like,
right.
it just seems just kind of like, oh, and by the way, I also just happen to be this, like, what has that experience been like? And then I do want to just like, if you have any advice for anybody else who's thinking about doing this, what are some of the steps they should take?
Yeah. So in my day job, I do relationship management for a healthcare company. So my degree is in social work. I used to be a social worker, and now I'm on the administration side. So something completely different.
Yeah.
But when I decided to just I don't know, it was just, I'm really good at like planning and checklists and schedules. I love writing things down. It's just, it makes me feel really accomplished when I'm going to check this off the box when we're done recording this. But it's just,
yes,
I like it. And for me, it's like a daily thing too. So I think it's all about organization and organizing and prioritizing your passions and making sure those balance, because of course my day job is, especially now that things are opening back up, it is getting busier. Time management can get a little bit harder, but I know just seeing, I don't know, I've impressed myself, I think, just seeing how much progress can be made and the power of cultivating relationships. That has really just grown, I think, my brand in my digital community, that I was like, no. If I can do this in, the hell of a year that 2020 was, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to hold it sacred. So whatever it is, even if it's, I don't know, if I'm every 2 hours, if I'm technically would like get out of my desk, out of Zoom and take a break, I'm on the side answering different, wine emails. I used to feel like I had everything in separate compartments, but now this just is my life and it's my lifestyle. And on Saturdays, I work in a tasting room because it was like, hey, why not? I get to talk to people and be around wine all the time. So I think it's all about, I don't know, because I also believe this can be something bigger. I see maybe in a couple of years me shifting industries completely and diving into wine full time. But I know that's going to look a lot different than other people's journeys. But I think it's just finding that passion and that drive, and wine gives me that never ending sense of wanting to learn and explore.
Yeah, that's so cool. I just love it. I love everybody who took that lump of coal that we all got last year and we're just kind of like, diamonds, bitch. Like this is what happened. And I love it. So, okay. Chris, you said to me earlier that you were so excited about your dope follow this week. So hit us with it.
So excited. It is on Instagram and it is at VCR of Death.
Okay.
Okay.
The entire concept around this account is they take really shitty, or they take classic death scenes. They take death scenes from like crappy B movies, from C movies to like cult classic movies, all from like 80s, 70s, all on VCR. And they record it and they just take the death scene and they put that video up. And it is spectacular to like watch how we viewed like action movies or I don't know, drama or whatever at that point in time. Is just marvelous. I mean, you get like the really crap. It's not like digitally remastered even a little bit. You get that like really crappy, blurry. I don't know, what is that VCR look like? I don't know. Like I know what film sort of looks like. You get like that crackle and like the cigarette burn, but like that VCR look where everything was still on tape, not digitized. Like it's marvelous. It makes me feel so good to come across that every day. It just cracks me up.
Doesn't it just blow your mind to think about the things that we used to watch in our youth? Where like compared to today, you're just kind of like, how did we ever see anything? How did we make out any detail? Because it just like, I see some of this footage from back when we were kids and you're just kind of like, did we know what was happening on any of these shows? Because they all just look blurry now and it's so ridiculous compared to the high def of today. Right. Like
yeah, for sure.
I think about that like maybe way too much. Like you're just kind of like there's no way that I actually enjoyed any of these shows or I knew what anybody actually looked like, because they're just all pixelated. Okay, that is a good one. VCR of Death. All right.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the page now. Wow, this is awesome.
Right. As you can see, we take this very seriously at times with the Don't Follow Us. They're not always the industry related. Okay, so that obviously leaves me here, and I'm a little late to this game, in terms of this TV show that I want everybody to go out and watch. But I think especially just after the past year, and even though we have a genuine diamond maker in our presence right now, I think it was still a very demanding year, and it was can be a little taxing. And I have been recommended this show so many times, and I fought it, and I didn't want to give in. And then I watched the first 2 episodes. I was like, well, now I got to get another freaking streaming service. And that show is Ted Lasso on Apple TV. It is so good. It stars Jason Sudeikis, and he plays a football coach from Kansas who goes to England and coaches a soccer team over there. And the amount of good feelings that you get, and it's a comedy, but there's a lot of heart in it. And I'm already going through my second run through of it. It's only 10 episodes, or like 30-minute episodes as well. But it's a really good feel good show. And I just think that we need more of that in this world. And I didn't want to believe the hype on it. Like I said, I fought it a lot, but it's so good. So if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, go and watch that show. It really is that good. And if you have watched Ted Lasso, please text me, email me, because I need to talk about this show. And I don't know who's seen it, because again, I'm pretty behind the trends on it, but it's amazing. And it's a good weekend binge. Grab yourself some natural wine and watch some Ted Lasso. That is my recommendation. That's my don't follow this week.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna text me and be like, "This is amazing." Ooh, 2 bottle pops. Must be that pet nat.
The music for the Good
You gonna
Bottle
play us out?
Podcast.
What are you doing?
I'm reading. Give me a break.
Oh my
The
God.
music for the Good Bottle Podcast is
Jesus.
orchestrated by the Moore brothers and produced very awkwardly by us. Before we go kill these bottles that we are drinking, we ask that if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review, because we're amazing and we love you.
You can also follow us on Instagram or Facebook at The Good Bottle Podcast, or on our personal accounts. Mine is dgarrison6. Chris is Chris Sinflair. Nadia, can you hit us with all the different ways that our listeners need to follow you? Hit us with the magazine, the Instagrams, the website, all of it. Go through it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you can find me on Instagram, Nad Wines. That's NAD Wines. You can find me at www.nodwines.com, my blog, my website. Feel free to email me, Nadia at Nodwines. And for the other ways to get a hold of me and find my work and all the things that I'm involved in, so you can find the Wine Zine on Instagram at the Wine Zine. And the Vanguard, we talked about the Vanguard earlier. I'm part of that advisory board. That's the Vanguard on Instagram as well. And if you're in the Bay Area and you're looking to get natural wine on a Saturday afternoon, now that it's nice and sunny, you can find me, I think, about every other Saturday at Vinca Minor Wine. And this is in Berkeley off 4th Street. So yeah, DM me anytime. I answer all my DMs at Nod Wines, and come drink wine with me. I'd love to meet you, chat with you. And Vinca Minor has some fun fruit wines, some pears and apples blended in with wine as well. So yeah, I had so much fun chatting with you guys. I can't wait to drink wine in real life.
We are so gonna drink wine in real life. This was so much fun. And for our listeners at home, you can support the podcast and our desire to get a subscription to the Wine Zine, which I looked up and it's $8 an issue. So send us some money via anchor.fm/goodbottle podcast. And you can also check out our merch store. Go to Etsy, look up Good Bottle Podcast. You can get yourself a Booze Pundit t-shirt. You can get a sweatshirt. We also have some coffee mugs on there. And of course, the coolest fanny pack you've ever seen in your life with a secret message inside the fanny pack that you will only know if you buy it.
That Drew wrote while he was drunk, so he didn't even remember it existed.
I did forget what I did, but then one of the people who bought it let me know, and I'm very proud of it.
It's amazing.
So,
I'm proud of you for that. That's a good move. That's a solid move. If you
I do a lot of podcast work while drinking is basically what we're taking away from this. I hit a potential guest. I design fanny packs. This is what I do. I drink wine and I design fanny packs. This is my life.
Fanny packs came
back.
back.
Put that in your Instagram bio.
I think that's actually a good idea. I think I do need to add that.
Fanny packs came back. Now I'm waiting for the snow goggles on the head, and I'm waiting for the upside down sun visors as well to come back.
Yeah. So basically, you just want like the cast of like Can't Hardly Wait to like have a renaissance and just be like recreate. And if you look up the movie poster, you'll be like, "Yep, that's the one."
Yeah, yeah.
perfect.
No, you'll have the oversized button up, completely open with the baggy jeans.
Yeah, it'll be yellow. It'll be yellow.
Yeah.
Is what it'll be.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yes.
If you would like for us to cover a story, preferably not about the 90s, or if you're working with a brand that wants to be featured, please email us at thegoodbottlepodcast@gmail.com.
And as a reminder, you can purchase some of these bottles that we drank on tonight's episode at thegoodbottleshop.com. And until next time, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Natty wines for life.